welcome to the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Yewande Balogun, and we're so excited to have her on here today. Yewande is a professional footballer playing for Saint Etienne in France, and she's also one of the goalkeepers for the Nigerian national team.
My sister and I actually have known Yewande for quite a while now. She was our coach at Maryland from our freshman year to our sophomore year. And we also had the opportunity to play alongside Yewande at Saint Etienne last year. Honestly, having Yewande with us to experience our first professional experience, it was really nice, and she really helped us to transition very well into that professional environment. So, Yewande, thank you for taking the time to speak to us today. We're so excited to have you here. Can you just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you started?
Okay. Hi guys again. And thank you guys for having me here. Honestly, this is really cool for me, just kind of seeing you guys grow and kind of step into this role, but also again having the opportunity to play with you guys was pretty dope, especially and also my first year playing professional football.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. But well, which part? Getting started with
Just kind of start off with like what age did you start playing and why did you choose to play
from the
soccer as a sport?
beginning. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started playing when I was about 5, I want to say. I have an older brother who also played before me, but then my dad was really the footballer in the house. We grew up watching any games we can get our hands on. It was mostly just international matches at that time. There wasn't a lot of I guess professional leagues that we were able to watch at that point. But yeah, just growing up watching football with my dad and my brothers, and then finally getting the opportunity to play. It was really special for me because it made me feel closer to my dad with that. But yeah, it was, I grew up in PG County, Maryland. So growing up playing there and kind of realizing after some time that I was actually pretty good. I didn't start as a goalkeeper. That kind of started as a dare. Like we needed a player to go on goal. I was one of the tallest players on the team. Like, how are you gonna do it? I was like, no, but then I ended up doing it, and that kind of worked out for me. So, yeah, and the rest is, I guess, kind of history.
That's so funny. That's so funny that I didn't even know that you weren't you didn't start off as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
No. I mean, I was young enough that it made sense, but I think I became a full-time goalkeeper maybe at like 13.
Oh wow.
Or so. Yeah. Which so I think is still really young. But
so where did you play on the field before goalkeeper?
I was a center back to start. Wow. Yeah. And then I moved up to forward. So yes, I wasn't just saying things when I was coaching you guys. Like I knew what I was talking about. But yeah, no, center back and then forward and then outside mid a little bit. And it was when I was playing outside mid that I had to choose between playing on the field and in the goal. And I was like, well, there's a lot more running over here, so I'm gonna just go ahead and go back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So you grew up in PG County, Maryland. Can you talk about how your recruiting process and how you ended up committing to the University of Maryland?
Yeah, funny story. I wanted no parts of Maryland, actually. I was trying to go far, far away. I swore I was going West Coast, really wanted to go to UCLA. But like I said, I, found out that I was pretty good over some time and ended up playing with the youth national team in the US, starting from, I think, U14. And that's kind of where I got recruited from. My recruiting process was probably a little bit different because of that. So, the Maryland coach actually did, reach out, and I remember just being like, no, I'm not going here. I want to go far, far away. My high school coach, Bill Heiser, he actually was on the he played on the U.S. men's national team, as well. And he gave me a lot of advice and said, you don't close any doors. You never know. So I reached back out to the Maryland coach at the time, Brian Pensky, and I said, hey, I do want to come visit, and I went and I fell in love, which I didn't think that I would do. I used to walk across the street to go to campus when I was in elementary school to go on field trips. I didn't want to be there. It felt like too close to home. But when I actually went on that visit to go there, I was like, oh, you know what? I can see myself here, and this is where I want to be. And I didn't commit or anything right away. I still wanted to go on some other visits, and actually ended up going on a visit to UCLA, which was the dream school before. And I was like, you know what? I like it, but it's still Maryland. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of how we felt when we were on our official visit. Like we
Yeah.
were like, wow, Maryland feels so homey. Like I could just picture myself there. So that's also one of the reasons why we committed to Maryland as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're so glad you did.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like happy we committed to Maryland, because we were also like between South Carolina South Carolina, and Maryland, and I just feel like Maryland just felt more. I just felt more at home at Maryland. Yeah, I mean, it's how more diverse it was too.
Yeah, there's just something about it. There's no real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it. I guess you just have to know. You just have to feel it.
Yeah. If you know, you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with that. So you also had just like a multifaceted career from playing in college and then to coaching and then returning back to playing professionally. Um, what kind of inspired you or influenced you to get into coaching?
Well, I think I always knew that I wanted to coach, when I was done playing. Um, but it's interesting that I ended up coaching still because I stopped playing after I graduated because I had an injury and I didn't think I was ever going to play again. I spent a bunch of time rehabbing, trying to get back to playing, but there was also no league in the U.S. at that time. This was before the NWSL, and I think the league right before that, the WPS had just folded. There was no NWSL. Playing overseas was really difficult at that time. And so I was just like, you know what? I guess that's it. So I actually for 3 or 4 years, I didn't even think about football, talk about football. I would meet people and they didn't even know that I played. I just wanted nothing to do with it. I worked in corporate America, went back to school, got my MBA. I thought I was done. And so many things kind of happened in a row that led me back to the game. And, I ended up coaching. I was like, okay, fine. This is where I need to be. I got called back into it. So, ended up coaching, which is what I knew I wanted to do at some point. And I really enjoyed it, but it was really difficult for me because I kind of felt that I wasn't done playing, I mean, even with you guys, I would jump into training with you guys all the time.
Yeah.
Whenever I could. And, even while I was there, I don't know if you guys even know this, but I randomly, got myself fit and did an open tryout at the Spirit just to say that I tried,
Oh yeah, I
with
remember.
no. Okay, so yeah, okay, so I just, there was always a part of me that felt like I didn't get, a shot, and so I tried that, and with the mindset of I'm going to come back to coaching, but this is just to say that I tried.
Mhm.
And then, I ended up, obviously leaving Maryland, going out to California, coaching out there. COVID hit and it kind of shook up, the seasons and, everything that we were allowed to do. And so when we had our spring season, all the other colleges around us were able, universities and colleges around us were able to have their fall season in the spring. Our conference wasn't allowed to. So our spring season looked like a regular spring season, but we could only play the semi-pro teams around. We ended up playing California Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was coaching at UC Davis. We were playing a couple of semi-pro teams. California Storm didn't have a goalkeeper. My boss, Tracy Ham, just says, "Okay, well, you can play with them. They need a goalkeeper." And I was like, "Excuse me, I can do it." I hadn't played in so long at that point, and the head coach at the Storm, Jamie, she's like, "Yeah, sure." Jamie Lavoie, she said, "Yeah, come on, come play." So I played against my team, UC Davis, and played against UC Santa Barbara. And I was like, wow, that was actually really fun. Why haven't I been
Yeah.
And Jamie asked if I wanted to play that summer since they, needed a goalkeeper until the college kids were out. At that point, COVID kind of changed my mindset about a bunch of things. So I just said, you know what, sure, why not? Why not? So I ended up saying yes, signed with the Storm for that summer. And shortly after, there were some friendly matches in Texas. It was Nigeria, the US, Portugal, and Jamaica. Nigeria is having some issues getting players in because of COVID, because of visas, XYZ, and the head coach was, reaching out to some of his contacts in the US to see if he can get some Nigerian Americans in to play. And I happened to be one of those contacts. Actually, one of my former teammates at Maryland, Sade Pratt, was one of the ones that put me in contact with him, and I got invited into camp, and that was a dream come true, and I went and I was like, this is great. I'm, happy to help, but, is there an opportunity? And he said, if this is something that you want to do, we still need a third goalkeeper. Get yourself fit, come back into camp. So I got invited to camp in Austria the next month, and did what I could to get myself ready for it. And, I've been getting called in ever since then. And, I made the decision that if I really wanted to do this, that I would have to really do it. And so that fall was my last season coaching at UC Davis. And then I left to start training and try and find an agent and a team, and signed at Saint Etienne the following August, I guess. Yeah. So very, very quick turnaround, very quick change. But, I think the really big thing was that I just said yes to all the things and just decided to go for it. And yeah, no regrets.
What do you think was your biggest challenge transitioning from being a coach and then going back to being a player?
Several. But probably the biggest thing was just, I was working full time and trying to get fit again to play professionally. And I hadn't done that in, training at that level since I had graduated. There's 10 years in between that time. So, working out and, I could do all that. And I guess I'd started that trend when I tried to go into the open trial at Spirit. But even then I was still I wasn't training as a goalkeeper. I was, in the gym, and I was running and trying to do that. But then now adding on training and the football part and working full time, and as a college coach, you don't really have a lot of time to yourself. The job is really demanding. So I think that was the biggest thing during that transition was really just trying to find ways to train in meaningful ways that were enough for me to feel good about it. And then, of course, this is probably a bigger thing, the unknown, right? I was just saying, okay, yeah, I have to do it because I have to try. This is something that was on my mind for years, that, oh, I wish I could play. I wish I could play. I wish I got the opportunity. And here is the opportunity. Right. And with that in mind, it's of course I'm going to say, yeah, it's easy. It's an easy decision, but no, because I'm leaving this very stable well, stable as you can be with college coaching, right? But a stable life,
Yeah.
and a stable, steady paycheck, all those things to go into playing. And I made that decision to leave to go train full time and like hope that a club came along. There was no guarantees if I didn't have anything lined up, and I just had to trust that it was going to happen. Um, Even though everyone around me was like, you sure? What are we doing?
Yeah.
I'm moving back into my parents' house, like, yeah, I'm gonna go play pro footy. And they're like, what, ma'am? So that part was definitely really difficult, especially when, I was super ambitious. I left UC Davis in December 2021. And I was like, yeah, it's the winter window. I'm gonna find a team. I'll be home for 6 weeks and then I'm out.
Mm.
I didn't find a team in the window. So 6 weeks turned into 6 months
Yeah.
of being at home and just trying to train and figure out, how to keep myself motivated and hope that that opportunity came along. And it was hard. It was definitely really difficult. Not knowing what was going to happen, if it was going to happen, and obviously, I'm still getting called into camps, which was, a blessing too. And still doing enough, playing well enough, feeling good, feeling, fit, but knowing that I needed to have to find a club. So just having that faith, and it's really scary, but luckily that came through, and I signed in July. So that was a very difficult transition, but again, definitely paid off in the end. So
Yeah, no, it really did. I just feel like your story is so inspiring because I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know, just like even just training like during like the off season, it's like so everything is so mental, I feel like.
yes,
Like
yes,
in the summer when you have to stay in shape, make sure your touches are like it's very mental because sometimes you just want to take a break and just chill, but you have to stay consistent, to stay at,
yes.
at the top level. So even coming back from what you came back from, I couldn't say I could do that.
Yeah, and
No, that's very impressive.
I will say I'm blessed too, because um my youngest brother Khalid is also still playing pro footy. So that
Oh,
time that I came home was his off season too. So we
oh,
were actually training a lot together. Um and so we were kind of keeping each other up, like, okay, we got it, we got it. So it's, yeah,
yeah,
that made it a little easier, a little bit more
yeah.
bearable. And then I also got lucky with finding a summer team that summer, I guess it's 2022, with Coppermind in Baltimore.
Mhm.
That club, like, they're it just really felt like home. They're incredible over there, and super grateful for that opportunity to come in, training, with Val and Nico, and just they really helped out with that transition too. And I got games in, and it was you know really helpful for me. So I did have a lot of support. Just people. There were the people that thought I was crazy, and the people that were like, "We're gonna help you do this," and
Yeah,
yeah, so it was good.
I also feel like
that's
we could relate to what you were talking about, just like the fear, not the fear of the unknown, but just not knowing if you're gonna get a contract. It's just like you're just waiting to see if you're gonna get a contract that window, or if you're gonna find a team that window. And in between then you're just training and working out and just waiting to see if you're gonna get a
Just praying, yeah.
contract. But I could definitely relate to that, because you never know if you're going to get a team or not. You never know if you're going to have to wait to the next window. And I think a lot of professional players can relate to that feeling too, just not knowing, but at the same time, still trying to stay motivated, like, and on top of everything. So, because like even on
Yeah,
days where with me and my sister, some days I don't feel like going, but she feels like going. So that kind of helps me like stay
yeah,
motivated and stuff. So I guess I can relate to having your brother too. That's nice to have too. Just
yeah,
someone that's
definitely.
going through the same journey as you are. Like that's, yeah, it's really nice to have. Yeah.
did you have any, like, doubts that you felt like you weren't gonna be good enough, or you kinda just stayed in like having in a like a faith mindset, or like you just had confidence in the work that you put in?
All of it depends on the day, really. Um,
Yeah.
I think the the transition. I guess this is another piece of that. When I finally signed and came to Saint Etienne, um, that was, even though I'd played it with Coppermine, that summer we were training twice a week, maybe games on the weekend. Um, Coming into this club was the first time that I was training in this kind of environment, like every day, in this professional setting, right? Since college, So
Yeah.
for me, I was like, oh yeah, this is what it's like, you know. And again, that was the first time that I was now training consistently. And so for me, it was just like I had to relearn so many things. Like, and obviously
Mm.
you know, the game's also changed so much. So of course, yeah, I'm coaching, but now being back and playing, it's that was really different. So there was a time, in the beginning when I first got here that I was like, am I serious? Like, who told me that I could do this? Like, that transition was really, really difficult. Just like finding, I guess, my rhythm again, And so there were a lot of times where I was just like, I should just go home. I should just go home, because I didn't feel confident in my play just yet. And, but once I got into that, it took me, 6 weeks, couple months. But I think after that, I was like, oh, here we are. Here she is. Okay, And so, but even during that time, it's like I had a couple of those days where I was just like, I don't know if I should be doing this. And then I had to remind myself that, I'm here for a reason. I didn't come this far just to come this far, Um, so it definitely kind of went back and forth, but I definitely had those moments of like, wow. But then I was like, no, I'm here and I'm doing it and we're gonna keep going because we don't have a choice. So
So, uh, you kind of went into like the adversities that you faced, just like transitioning from not playing for a while and then getting your contract in France. Could you go into detail about any other like adversities that you face playing in France, like on or off the field?
whale. Um, you know, and this is my own fault. I don't know what I was thinking, but I don't know why I thought that more people would speak English.
Oh.
When I first got here, and I was like, "Oh, we're really only speaking French." Okay. And so I didn't know any French, so I got here and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to learn, yes. Um, and as a goalkeeper too, obviously just like in general playing the game, like in training, you need to know what's going on, you need to understand. And luckily we had a couple of English speakers or bilingual people on our team that kind of helped translate and everything. But then you have, as a goalkeeper, communication is a really big thing. And that for me, I know is a huge part of my game. Like I am an organizer, right? And so I was mute.
Mm.
And that was a part of my transition too, was that I didn't have the words. I didn't know how to organize. I didn't know what to say. And, I could speak it in English and, you know, but knowing that they didn't understand me and then having the coach yelling at me that I need to be speaking French. So I just didn't say anything, so that also made it really difficult for me because, I'm taking the blame for a lot of things that maybe I shouldn't be normally because I am organizing or talking or doing this and I couldn't do it,
Yeah.
and so that was really, really difficult for me too. And I just had to learn those couple commands and words and things that kind of helped over time, but that was definitely tough. And then just overall in general being away, just living it. I didn't know anyone here when I first got here.
Yeah.
Um, so that like I really just up and moved across the world to come play football, and I don't know anyone here, and I don't know the language, and I'm really unsure if I'm, you know, if I made the right decision coming here. I had those doubts and everything, but then I was like, you know what, I prayed for this for so long, I wanted this for so long. I have to do this. I have to see this through, but that transition was definitely really, really difficult. And then I think in general, coming into a different country as an outsider too, it's also really difficult. The I like I'm gonna say, I guess, I don't know if it's specific to France only. I've only played in France, so I don't really know, but they're really partial to French people. So that also makes it a little bit more difficult. And I know, you guys being here, Kayla, you're still in France. You might be able to speak to that a little bit too. That part was, definitely really difficult. So, but you just it's kind of the same thing as being in the US, I guess. Like as a Black woman in the US, you got to do everything 10 times better to be
Yeah.
just as good as everybody else. And that didn't change, coming here. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like being like a Black person or just an outsider or international from and then coming to France, like I feel like you have bigger shoes to fill and you have to prove more. Like you have to I feel like you have to work 10 times harder to prove yourself and like show that you should be starting or you should be playing at that level. And I could also relate to what you were talking about, just like the keywords that they use on the field. Because at first I had no idea either, and I
yeah.
was I'm also not the type of player that's like loud or anything, but I didn't understand the key words. So even if I was trying to say man on or you have time, I didn't know the key words. So I think over time now that I know the keywords, it's like it kind of helps you kind of stay focused, communicating a lot. And then now that you know the words, it's like, okay, like I feel more comfortable. Like you feel more comfortable, you feel more, I don't know how to, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, but you just feel more
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
more like a part of the team, I guess, or like
Yeah.
integrated into like the French culture that I should say, yeah. Because I feel like me knowing the key words now, I feel more comfortable on the field, and I feel like I'm more confident in like uh just talking on the field and letting or I guess it helps me feel like the players like accept me in a way, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So I can
No,
definitely.
but with the keywords though, like it reminded me actually of like when I first got here. Like I came into preseason late because I signed late to come here. So I got here maybe the end of August. Everyone had been here since the end of July already. But I got here on I think a Wednesday night. I trained on Thursday, which
Wow.
was already crazy, and then we had a scrimmage, a friendly match on Friday. And like I said, I knew no French. I played in that friendly match. I think
Yeah.
I played the second half. And I remember the goalkeeper coach being like, okay, these are the words you need to know.
Wow.
He goes, Stavien, like man on, okay. And then he said, I think what did he say? It might have been like saute, right? Like get out. And
Oh,
then he goes, droite and gauche.
yeah,
Droite and gauche.
yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
so those are the four things that I'm saying the entire time. I'm like, everything else I was just yelling in English because I was like, I don't know what to
No, I could definitely relate to the droite and gauche because sometimes it's not like engraved in my brain which is like which is right, which is left, which is
do.
droite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So sometimes like when like the person behind me is speaking to me, I'm like it takes me a second and they're like, oh shit,
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, like I'm like a second late sometimes because it's like it's still not ingrained in my brain yet.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
that
I'm like, Yeah, it's gotten a lot better, definitely.
Yeah.
I won't ever forget that. Here you go. Here's your 4 words. Good luck.
Yeah.
I trained with the team once.
Yeah. That's
Oh
so
my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when we were playing for Saint Etienne when we first came and like being a center back, he wanted us to be so vocal. And then
Yeah.
I just felt so uncomfortable because I didn't know like the right things to say. So it just took me a while to like be comfortable with saying the words. But
Yeah.
it probably like took like a month for me to be actually confident, like screaming out, yeah, all those words. So I definitely understand. It was
yeah.
so rough, and I was
Yeah.
someone who like knew French, and it was uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
So I definitely
Oh yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Didn't know a word.
Yeah.
Nah, I did. I knew Sava.
Ça va?
Ça va.
Ça va? I say
Sava.
I say that all the time. Whenever I
It's
say
like,
ça va, yeah, ça va. They always mock
yeah.
me because that's all I say. But it's so
Well, that's all they
yeah.
say.
That is so funny. But ça va is like
It's
how
hilarious. Yeah.
so yeah, that's funny that we can all like kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does get better though. It does get
Yes.
it
Yeah,
gets
for
It
sure.
has to.
it does have to. You don't have a choice.
Exactly.
That's so funny. So, going back to you talking about playing with the Nigerian national team for the first time. You had the opportunity to represent Nigeria in the World Cup, the 2020 World Cup. Can you kind of just talk about that experience, how that experience was for you?
Incredible. Incredible. It's especially it was not even the fact that I was there, it's just the path that I took to get there. Like I know that my trajectory is not it's not normal. It's not something that typically happens. And I think that is I guess that was what I was just holding on to. I was like I was just so blessed to be here and that I actually had this opportunity, this dream that I let go of however many years ago and I get to now play professional and I'm here at the World Cup, and like competing, with the top teams in the world, it was ridiculous. Like even just the travel to get there, just like the training, the prep, everything, because the prep wasn't just, the weeks before. It was like that full cycle, the years leading up to the World Cup. And just like being a part of the national team in general, right? Like I wasn't born in Nigeria, my parents were, but I grew up in the States, but I always felt that pull to, you know, be a part of the Nigerian team. But grew up watching the Super Falcons play in the World Cup, like one of the coaches, and Chijene, I watched her play. I used to wear a bandana around my head playing because of her too, So it was this like just being a part of that was, incredible and made me, just felt closer and more, yeah, closer to home, I guess, if that makes sense. Growing up playing with I grew up with the U.S. youth national teams, obviously, but even then, I was like, if there's a way, like I would love to play for Nigeria,
Mhm.
So like having that opportunity and then being able to go to the World Cup and having like watched so many, growing up like over the years, it was just this dream come to reality, and that's really I don't even know what else to say about that.
It's
But then, being there, yes, but then on top of that, I guess what we accomplished, like while we were there too, like getting to the round of 16, like we didn't advance because we, didn't advance on PKs against England in the round of 16, but still had an incredible showing, right? And that just speaks volumes to, that group of women and, what we were able to accomplish. It's not a secret that, we were not super happy with what the NFF was doing, how they're operating. And I think being able to do that despite all of that is incredible, and then gave us a platform to be able to demand more and ask for more, even if it's not for us, but for those that come after. Um, I think that in itself is like, that was an incredible accomplishment. And I think that for me, like, yeah, I get to be at the World Cup and this is incredible and I love this and it's an incredible opportunity. But I think that piece of it too is probably more important for me because even when I got into coaching too, it was like, yeah, I want to coach when I'm done playing, fine. But it evolved into me wanting to make the game better for, those that came after me. And like, that was why the university piece was so important for me, coaching at university, because it's like I had a great, experience but there were still some things that could have been better. What can I do to make that better for those that come after me? And I think that's kind of what has carried over into what I want my, professional career to look like too, because I mean, I am an older player. I don't have that many years, but like, what can I do to make sure that women's football is better than I found it, when I leave. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only did you, get to be at the World Cup, but you had the opportunity to play in your first World Cup game. Like, can you describe how that was?
Oh, I did not play at the World Cup. I
Oh,
did get a cap though, and no,
oh,
yeah, I didn't play at the World Cup, but I did get my first cap with Nigeria in February of 2023.
Oh, that was
Played against
before the
Costa
World Cup.
Rica. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Played
Wow.
against Costa Rica in Mexico. So
oh yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah,
how
yeah.
was that? How was that?
That I mean, it was at first it was super nerve wracking. Just hearing the night before, like, oh, you're gonna play tomorrow. I was about, I think I'd been with the team at that point for a little over a year. Yeah. Or maybe a year and a half, something like that. But I hadn't played yet. And so for me, it was like this, it was a bit nerve wracking at first, but then it was like everything that I have done up until this point, like whether it was when I was playing before or like when I, came out of retirement and started playing again, all of that has prepared me for this moment, and it, at first I was like losing my mind, like I can't believe it's happening, I can't believe it's happening, like, I hope I don't mess up. But then I was like, you know what, like I've been preparing for this moment my entire life, like just go have fun and enjoy it. And so it was like, I don't think I have anything to prove to anyone else, but like proving to myself that I belong here. And I feel like I had a good performance. We won 1-0, and I'm not ever gonna forget that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's like a memorable moment. You're like your first cap. Yeah, I feel like that's
yeah. Like you can't. You just don't ever forget that. So
it's like
Yeah.
you look back and you're like, oh, I wish I could play with the Nigerian national team, and then voila, like you're playing your first cap. Like, yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
that is
I
really
feel like
exactly.
it's so rewarding too, like after coming from not playing for so many years and then being called up for the Nigerian national team and then playing in the world not well being in the World Cup. I
Yeah,
just feel like
yeah,
that's so rewarding towards like all the work that you put in and like
yes,
how you proved everyone wrong.
yeah.
So
That's
that
yeah. I think that part is really it. Is like, again, like what I did before and then everything I did, like once I started playing again, like it wasn't for no reason. I didn't upend my life to chase
yeah.
this dream, for no reason. And, I'm still enjoying playing and, it's been good. Definitely rewarding for sure.
Um Do you have any advice that you'd wanna give to, like, athletes that wanna play professionally from your own experience? Like, what are some things that you learned that you could pass on to other people?
Couple things, I guess. I would say that it's never going to be easy, but it's always going to be worth it. You know, there is so much sacrifice that comes with this lifestyle. And I think most high level athletes learn that from a young age anyway. It doesn't change as you get older, you know, like there's so many things you'll have to miss, you know, the number of I mean, my birthday is in season, you know, like it's always been in season. I have, you know, you just can't do the same things. I've missed so many weddings. Like I've missed, I've missed a lot of things, you know, and that doesn't change. You know, now I'm on the other side of the world and most of my friends and family are still in the US, family in Nigeria, you know, it's difficult, right? If this is something that you really want to do, you just have to embrace that and know that not everyone's going to agree with what you're doing or like it, but it will always be worth it. That's first. And second, it's never too early to start thinking about what else you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
True.
That's so true.
Outside of football. I mean, even in, you know, when I was in college still, I had all these, you know, internships. I was doing a bunch of different things, trying to figure out, you know, what else I'd be interested in if, you know, God forbid football didn't work out. And at that time, it really didn't. And it was still really difficult for me to, you know, kind of let it go and move on. But I was grateful that I at least kind of put my hands in a bunch of different things and figured out what else I was interested in. And even now, you know, the focus isn't just, you know, the football, it's figuring out what comes after. And even if it still is in football and figuring out how I can, you know, help the development of women's football, it's beyond playing, right? So I think that is also a huge piece. You know, you guys are already doing it. You know, you got your podcast, your business owners. You're like, you know, I love it. So, yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love the second point that she said. It's because I feel like there's a lot of players playing professionally right now and they don't really know what they want to do like outside of soccer. So I
Right.
think what you're saying that's true. Like it's never too late to start thinking about what you want to do. Because even me, I still don't know like what exactly I want to do like after playing professionally. But like I guess it's never too late to start planning and because you can even like do internships or like internships like online or just like,
Exactly.
making connections for those things that you want to do after soccer. So that's a good. That's
Definitely.
Yeah, because you have so much free time. Like
yeah.
I'm like figuring out hobbies that I like to do.
Yeah,
And yeah, so definitely never too late to think about what you want to do.
for sure.
But yeah, Yewande, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the One Soccer Nation podcast today. We're so excited that you took the time to be on here to speak with us today and just share your journey. So yeah, thanks again.
Thank you
Thanks,
guys for having
Yewande.
me. Obviously good to see you guys and
I know.
just happy to catch up and see what you guys are up to too. So, but thank you for having me.